Have you ever watched a cat chase a dangling string? The moment the string moves away, the cat's interest spikes. The second the string stays still, the cat seems to lose all enthusiasm. Men, in many ways, are a lot like that cat. They thrive on pursuing something that isn't immediately within their grasp. That's precisely why men can't resist women who know how to detach. Detachment is not about being aloof or playing mind games. It's about recognizing your own value and maintaining your self-respect, no matter who comes in or out of your life. In a world where everyone's clamoring for attention, it's the people who stand firmly on their own 2 feet that become captivating. But let's talk about how this plays out in real life. Picture your friend, call her Lucy, who's always bending over backward for her boyfriend. She cancels plans just to be available if he decides to call, forgives him for every broken promise, and hangs on his every word. At first, he seemed appreciative of her devotion, but over time, he stopped valuing her presence. Before long, Lucy found herself wondering why he was pulling away, even when she was giving him her all. It seems counterintuitive, but the reason is simple. If Lucy is always available and never has her own agenda, her boyfriend never has to put in effort, and thus he never feels the excitement of the chase. Men often lose interest when a relationship becomes too predictable, or when they don't have to invest anything to keep it. By contrast, let's imagine someone like Ava, a woman who has a clear sense of who she is. She's also in a relationship, but her entire world doesn't revolve around her partner. She maintains her hobbies, going to yoga class, grabbing brunch with friends, volunteering at the local animal shelter, and expects her boyfriend to respect these boundaries. When he tries to make last-minute changes to her schedule, she lets him know she's got prior commitments, but she's open to rescheduling. Ava doesn't do this to be difficult. She does it because she respects her own time. Lo and behold, her boyfriend is intrigued by her independence. He appreciates that she's not waiting by her phone all day, and he steps up his game because he knows he can't take her for granted. Her detachment, this sense of self-sufficiency, makes her irresistible. Detachment doesn't mean you're putting a wall between you and the man you care about. It doesn't mean you never show affection or never prioritize his feelings. It simply means you hold on to the person you were before you met him. Think of detachment as preserving the space that allows you to be you. This space isn't just precious for your mental and emotional well-being. It's also a spark that keeps the other person on his toes, reminding him you have a life outside of the relationship. When you remain grounded in your own world, you're signaling that your happiness does not depend solely on someone else's presence. That aura of self-containment is magnetic. Real-life scenario. Consider Maria, who took a new job that required plenty of overtime. She loved her work, she found it fulfilling, and it offered room for advancement. Her new relationship felt promising, but her partner often asked if she could skip certain shifts or cut down her hours for more quality time. While she valued time together, Maria also knew her career goals mattered. Instead of quitting or constantly rearranging her schedule to please him, she found a balance. She communicated that her job was part of who she was, and her aspirations weren't negotiable. Rather than pushing him away, her stance made him respect her more. He realized Maria had ambitions and wouldn't give them up for anyone. That quiet confidence deepened his admiration. What about those who worry this approach might scare men off? Sure, a man might be intimidated if he's searching for someone to control or dominate. But if you're looking for a partner who respects your individuality, the right man will appreciate that you have boundaries and standards. If he drifts away because you won't revolve your entire life around him, that's a clear sign the relationship wasn't going to be healthy in the long run. Better to recognize that early than to waste years trying to satisfy someone who takes your acquiescence for granted. Detachment saves you time, heartache, and emotional exhaustion. It acts like a filter, naturally weeding out men who aren't prepared for a mature, respectful connection. Picture your day-to-day life. Maybe you've got a passion for painting, or you love joining weekend hiking groups, or you feel drawn to community activism. Unfortunately, it's common for people, especially women, to give up these interests when they start seeing someone seriously. They might initially think, "He'll appreciate me more if I focus my energy on him," But what actually happens is that you lose the very qualities that made you unique and interesting in the first place. Soon enough, your partner may wonder, where's that fun, vibrant person I started dating? The answer is, she vanished under the weight of trying to prove her devotion. On the other hand, if you maintain those passions and let them flourish, you remain the dynamic individual he was drawn to. Men can't resist women who remain the bright, self-driven individuals they were before the relationship began. Let's talk about the fear of abandonment many women feel. If I don't go all in, if I don't show him 24/7 that he's my priority, he might leave. This is a valid concern, especially for those who've been hurt in past relationships. But the tricky part is, overextending yourself usually leads to the very outcome you fear. Why? Because overinvestment creates an imbalance. When one partner is pouring in everything, time, energy, even self-worth, and the other is barely lifting a finger, it fuels complacency. A man who never has to work for your attention never fully appreciates it. That dynamic can become suffocating. Love needs oxygen, some breathing space, some mystery. Part of that oxygen is you having your own life, your own thoughts, and your own ambitions. When you can thrive independently, you inject fresh air into the relationship. Still feeling skeptical? Let's weave in another real-life example. Danielle was married for 3 years to a man who she believed was the one. In the early days, she was determined to be the perfect wife. She cooked meals every day, declined invitations to go out with her friends so she could be home waiting for him, and never once argued when he disapproved of her travel plans or nights out. Over time, he began ignoring her efforts. He'd come home late without calling, forgot her birthday, and even stopped asking about her day. When Danielle finally decided to take a step back and set some boundaries, insisting on her own gym schedule, reconnecting with her girlfriends, volunteering for weekend events, something surprising happened. Her husband, who had seemed distant for so long, began paying closer attention. He noticed her zest for life outside their marriage. She was no longer consumed by his every move. Intrigued by her renewed independence, he started to step up. While this shift didn't fix every problem in their marriage overnight, it opened a dialogue and rekindled a spark they had long lost. One key insight is that detachment is as much about nurturing your personal growth as it is about how you relate to a partner. Look at Serena Williams, for instance. She's known globally for her tennis achievements. Even when she fell in love and started a family, she didn't abandon her identity as an athlete, philanthropist, and influential public figure. That doesn't mean she ignores her husband or child. It means she integrates family life with her personal goals. Although she's a public persona and her situation is unique, the principle holds true for all of us in our own spheres. You're not required to be a world-class athlete. You just need to hold on to what makes you you. People sometimes mistake detachment for coldness or manipulation. That's not what it is. Genuine detachment comes from a place of self-awareness, not from playing games. You recognize your core values, your passions, and your worth. You want a partnership that complements who you are, not one that replaces it. If you're purposely ignoring calls or acting indifferent just to provoke a response, that's manipulation. True detachment is calm and self-respecting, not sneaky or mean-spirited. In this state, you're simply not bending your entire existence around the whims of another person. In response, a worthy partner will lean in, because they're naturally drawn to someone who holds her own in life. This isn't just about romance, by the way. The principle of detachment applies to friendships, workplace relationships, and even family dynamics. There's something universally appealing about someone who's confident and grounded. Think of your coworker who never seems frazzled. Even when the office is in chaos, people gravitate to her because she exudes a sense of calm self-assurance. Translated into dating, that same energy creates attraction. When you carry yourself with poise, you invite others to match that level of respect and effort. Now, how do you cultivate healthy detachment if you've spent years overextending yourself? It starts with small acts of prioritizing your needs. If you used to give up your Saturday mornings for a guy's convenience, you can start by reclaiming that time. Enroll in a class, indulge in a hobby, or simply savor a coffee with a good book. Use that time to reconnect with yourself, understand your desires, and reflect on who you are outside of a relationship. When you do meet someone, or if you're already in a relationship, make sure you continue these self-care rituals. Over time, this becomes a natural part of who you are, not a forced strategy. Next, practice honesty about your expectations. When you're detached in a healthy way, you're not afraid to communicate openly. If a man does something you're uncomfortable with, you address it calmly. You're not screaming or accusing. You simply let him know that certain behaviors are deal breakers for you. If he values you, he'll respect those boundaries. If he doesn't, then you have the clarity to decide whether that relationship is right for you. Being detached doesn't mean you never compromise. It means you don't compromise so much that you're left with nothing of yourself. You and your partner meet in the middle, and that meeting is built on mutual respect rather than fear of losing each other. Real-life application often revolves around managing digital communication. In today's world, texting and social media have transformed dating dynamics. Many people feel an urge to respond to messages instantly or post constant updates. Part of healthy detachment might involve stepping back from that. Instead of replying within seconds, allow the conversation to flow at a natural pace. Instead of obsessively checking who liked your photos, focus on enjoying the experiences behind those photos. Let your online presence reflect the richness of your real life, instead of letting it dictate how you feel about yourself. When a man notices that you're not constantly online waiting for his message, he recognizes that you have a life beyond your phone screen. Another angle to consider is the concept of detached with love. That phrase means you're not shutting someone out emotionally. You simply refuse to be so entangled that you lose perspective. You can deeply care for someone while still detaching from the need to control the outcome of every interaction. Love blossoms in freedom. When two people come together from a place of wholeness, each with their own dreams and sense of identity, their relationship becomes more dynamic and fulfilling. In that atmosphere, neither party feels suffocated, and both can continue growing as individuals. Paradoxically, that's often what strengthens the bond the most. Two stable, independent people choosing to share their lives, not out of desperation, but out of genuine desire. Yet, we must acknowledge that detachment isn't always easy. If you have a pattern of overgiving, it can feel terrifying at first to let go of the urge to please someone. There might be moments of doubt, wondering if you're being too distant. You might even question whether this approach really works. Over time, however, you'll notice positive changes. You'll feel less anxious about the status of your relationship. You'll sense a newfound respect from your partner as they rise to meet the standards you've set. More importantly, you'll discover a deeper self-confidence that isn't easily shaken by external events. A supportive environment helps reinforce healthy detachment. Surround yourself with friends who uplift you and respect your boundaries. Seek out mentors or role models, either in your personal life or through books and media, who embody this balanced independence. Sometimes we only realize what's possible when we see others living it. By witnessing women who stand strong in their own identity and noticing how men genuinely admire them, you gain the encouragement to adopt that same mindset. Consider the story of Priya, a university professor who was known for her dedication to her students and her scholarly research. She found herself in a relationship where her boyfriend kept implying that her career took too much time. Initially, she felt guilty and tried to cut back on her work, but it left her unfulfilled and resentful. After some introspection, she gently but firmly explained to her boyfriend that teaching and research were part of her life's calling. She suggested he could support her by acknowledging her passion rather than asking her to reduce it. He had two choices: either adapt and support her or move on. Recognizing her unwavering stance, he chose to stay and become her biggest cheerleader. In fact, he began boasting to friends and family about her academic achievements, taking pride in the fact that he was with such a dedicated and accomplished woman. Priya's ability to detach, refusing to compromise on her calling, made her more attractive in his eyes, not less. Maybe the most important realization is that detachment protects your heart without closing it off. It's like having a security system for your emotional house. You can welcome people in, but you won't tolerate vandalism. It ensures you're never so vulnerable that you lose sight of what you deserve. It's easy for others to say, just know your worth. But until you see detachment as an act of self-love, it's hard to break old habits. With detachment, you're telling yourself, I am worthy of love, but not at the cost of my dignity. I am open to sharing my life, but not at the expense of my personal growth. That kind of self-awareness radiates from within, and men notice it. They can't resist it because it stands out in a world where so many people chase validation outside themselves. In short, men can't resist women who detach, because detachment is another word for unwavering self-respect. It tells the world that you don't need external validation to feel whole. It reminds any potential partner that if they don't meet you at your level, you're not afraid to walk away. And guess what? That's an incredibly alluring quality. When you live your life from this space of healthy detachment, you transform from someone who's constantly seeking approval into someone who grants approval sparingly and only when deserved. You become that dangling string, not in a manipulative sense, but in the sense that you remain dynamic and alive in your own right, always slightly out of reach because you have your own path to follow. The chase isn't about playing hard to get. It's about never sacrificing your essence for the sake of someone else's comfort. Men find that irresistible because it signals you're the type of person who will keep a relationship vibrant and challenging in the best way possible. So the next time you feel that nagging urge to rearrange your entire life for a man's convenience, pause and remind yourself, my life is my own, and my time is valuable. The paradox is that by protecting what's yours, your dreams, your boundaries, your passions, you become more alluring to the very partner you desire. When he sees that you don't base your worth on his attention, he realizes your attention is a privilege, not a guarantee. And that's what sparks the genuine commitment, respect, and admiration that can lead to a lasting, fulfilling relationship. Embrace detachment not as a game or a tactic, but as a lifestyle of self-respect. Know that the strongest relationships are formed when two people bring their whole selves to the table. No one is shrinking to fit the mold of another. If you take one lesson from all of this, let it be that you deserve a relationship where you are cherished without losing who you are. By living according to that principle, you'll naturally attract men who value you for your uniqueness, and they'll do whatever it takes to earn a place in your life. In the end, detachment isn't about pushing anyone away. It's about drawing the right ones closer. It's about loving yourself so completely that you never feel the need to beg for scraps of affection. It's about standing so firmly in your worth that a man can't help but notice. And if he's wise, he'll chase after you with all his heart. Because men can't resist women who detach, precisely because those women don't need anyone else to feel complete. And in that space of independence and strength, real love can flourish. Love that's rooted in choice rather than necessity. Respect rather than fear. The moment you grasp that, you'll never settle again. And the right man will never let you go.